What's going on, friends? Hadn't talked to you in a little while. It is now the dog days of summer, and it's hot. I'm Mike McFarland, the Lake Fort Guide. I'm going to give you a Lake Fort rundown if you're coming out this weekend. Here's a few things that you need to know. First, let's go through the lake because we ain't talked to you in a while. The lake temperatures, they're quite different right now. We've had an entire week of pretty good, solid south winds, very strong, 10, 12, 15 mile an hour or greater. And that churned the lake, which blew everything south, drew up the deeper water. South blew north, drawing the deeper water up into the south basin. So I've got two temperatures here. The first temperature is the most south you can go, down by the dam. 81 degrees. We cooled down from 91 degrees to 81 degrees with high winds blending the shallow water and deep water. Okay. The 86 is when you go back up north. Normally I give you a mid-lake temperature, a main lake temperature to go by. But the more north you go, the hotter it gets. The more south you go, the cooler it gets. Remember, this is the subsurface. It's the first 18 inches. As of this morning, we're back to 83 and 89. So in other words, down south by Little Caney Points, down by the dam, 83. Up north by 2946 Bridge, Chigger Ridge or Heartbreak Ridge, 89, okay? And I'm certain that if you go into the backwaters, the creeks, up in Glade, up in Birch, up in those backwaters, it's even hotter, 93s, 94s, and so on. Clarity, 0 to 1 foot. Kind of starting to get some of that summer brown color that I don't care for. The lake is trying to turn over just a little bit. That's what this cool trend does. Levels. Basically, as of Monday, 402.30, we're gradually dropping very little. In 1 week, we are now to 402.20. So in 1 week, we've dropped an inch, inch and a half. That's good shape. Usually we use water a little bit more. We normally have more evaporation. Quarter inch of use per day, half inch evaporation, and a quarter inch of rate of flow, which is downriver flow. We're not having evaporation this year. It's so hot and so humid. I really don't see the evaporation happening. But that's what the lake's doing. It's in okay shape. But here's the deal. Man, you need to get them early or get them late. The first 2 hours, 3 hours, and the last 2 hours. Of course, night fishing, if you fish at night, that could be the answer as well. You don't have to fish the night lights on Lake Fort to catch the nighttime bass. But remember this, right now, 6 a.m. to 8:30, 6 p.m. to 8:30. That's your window of catching. You're going to grind the rest of the time. I can tell you honestly that all week long, I don't think that we caught a fish after 10 o'clock. So tomorrow is my last half day for this week and for this month. Actually, I take that back. Next Thursday, I've got one more. But in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to actually take that vacation that I talked about. I'm going to travel a little bit. I'm going to go up to Arkansas, Hot Springs. I'm going to fish for some stripers. I'm going to bring my fly rod, probably film some of that, some big stripers. I'm going to do a volunteer day for some wounded warriors as well over on Quachita Lake or something like that at Hot Springs, Arkansas. So I probably won't be giving you a Lake Fork rundown for a couple weeks, but I'm still going to chime in and give you a few things and something to watch on YouTube. How am I catching them on Fork? Man, really the same thing, but I've finally gone to, I'm still throwing the Texas rig, but I've gone to the curl tail type worms, your power worms, anything that's got a tail. Remember we were throwing the straight tail, the mag worm. We were throwing that mag trick worm for so long. This is the mag trick worm in Black Magic or African Special. They're not eating that. I am basically throwing a 10-inch power worm and a 12-inch power worm in two colors, grape and red shad. Now, I know a lot of my peer guides are throwing big worms in plum apple. Plum is a hard color to beat in the middle of summer. Plum apple seems to be the better of the two. But basically, I think that the best of the two bites has been not the Texas rig, but the wobblehead. And I'm finally really throwing a lot of this wobblehead here. And really, that's just a football jig head with a attached hook that's not permanent. It's not a stiff type deal. It's undulates, so you have a lot more movement on this bait. I am fishing this in the heavy trees and wood, and the bite, the early bite, the 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. bite and 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. bite is in about 8 to 12 feet of water. That cool trim that I talked about has pulled those fish up. You can go on the backs around some of the grass and get a frog bite. You're going to get a lot of blowups, but they're not eating it, so you're going to miss a lot. You're going to have probably a 90% miss rate, but you can get some blowups, and they're good 4 or 5 pound fish. The fish have definitely pulled back up into the shallow water just a little bit, 5 to 10, 5 to 12 feet of water. The deep water bite for the time being is off, and that's pretty typical with the churning, not to be redundant here. But if you're coming out this weekend, man, stay hydrated. We've been under a 2-week heat advisory, and you can see that I'm even in my garage. I haven't turned anything on or aired it out yet, and it's pretty warm in here. It is hot, and after 10 o'clock, man, take care of yourself. Make sure you hydrate, and take a break. Don't get heat stroke. It can happen to you. It can happen to you after the fact. You think you're fine in the water, and then you get home later that night and have heat stroke. So just be real careful there. On another note, I am still throwing the impact shad on a little Carolina rig, and I'm catching fish with it from time to time, but I'm not catching big ones. It tends to be an early morning thing again as well. Everything's early morning for me. I don't guide in the afternoon, evening. But when I throw that impact shad on that, I'm catching cookie cutters, 2 to 3 pounders. The big fish are eating that worm. Okay. Man, as far as that kind of, I know it's a short rundown. We're at the end of the year. The attention span and the eyeballs that are on Lake Fork right now are much fewer than they were back in February, March, and April and whatnot. So we're going to keep this a little bit short for you. Have a good weekend. I wish you all great fishing. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, comment below. I'll leave you with 2 last things. Number 1, my boat is for sale. That video that I threw on there was actually just so that I could have a URL to share with bassboatsforsale.com. My boat is listed with bassboatsforsale.com, and I use that video so people can actually see the boat via a video. Those of you that watched it, thank you. The boat is for sale. It's as mint as I say. Awesome, awesome rig. $68,500, non-negotiable. That's already below NADA or below Blue Book. But that's the reason that video was up. And then the other one that I want to make some of you Texans probably laugh a little, and I'm assuming there'll be some good comments on this one. For the first time in my life, yesterday, I got lit up by wasps. And I'm going to tell you, my hand is swollen. My fingers swelled up so fat that my nail popped and was bleeding. I don't know if you can notice in there, but I still have all that swelling in my hand. I probably got bit 30 times, and I was bit half of that before I even knew what the heck was happening. Absolutely light you up. I had no idea they were that vicious. Almost like an electric shock backed up with fire. And then, of course, here I am almost 20 hours later, and I'm still, this morning I couldn't close my fingers. It was like somebody, you went football or basketball, you jam your fingers. These fingers were like ball peen franks, and I couldn't even bend them. I'm better now. But who'd have thought that a swarm of wasps, I guess some people might have been hospitalized by that. I was probably bit like at least 2 dozen times, all over my back, shoulders, ears. It was quite the experience. So the wasps have finally welcomed me to Texas. Don't make fun of me. Give me a couple comments below. Maybe someone has a remedy for this to get this swelling to go away. It hurts. It really hurts. But again, I thank you so much for watching. Thanks for when I run into you out there in the field and you say hello. It means so much to me. God bless y'all. Hope y'all catch more fish. I'm Mike McFarland, the Lake Fork Guide, giving you a quick rundown.